Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Lena Warisha binti Fazil from Group 8 would like to present to you about the applications of diatoms in forensic science. The applications are commonly used in forensic practices. Diatoms are unicellular, photosynthetic, and eukaryotic organisms that can be classified as an algae. In forensic science, diatoms are used in a variety of ways to determine the death of drowning people. It is also distinguished by forensic pathologists based on visual inspection of their morphologies and patterns, which well preserved even after the chemical digestion. There are two principles of diatom tests, which are antemortem drowning and postmortem drowning. For antemortem drowning, the diatoms will enter the lungs and rupture the alveolar walls. Since the heart is beating, it will circulate the diatoms to the other organ. Therefore, the diatoms will be detected in a bone marrow. For the post-mortem drowning, diatoms will enter the lungs and it will not rupture the alveolar walls. Since the heart is not beating, hence there is no circulation of diatoms to other organ. At the end of the death, there is no detection of diatoms in a bone marrow. Therefore, we can determine the cause of death, whether drowning or from the disposal of death.
Thank you to Liana Batrisha. Hi, my name is Farihatul Huda and I want to share to you guys what are the characteristics of diatoms that we use in forensic science. So, diatoms is unicellular non-motile eukaryotic microalgae. Non-motile means that they are characterized by a relatively smooth gliding motion that only occurs when cells are in contact with the surface. So means that they not require any changes in cell shape or the movement of extended cellular extension such as flagella or cilia that are utilized by many free-swimming organisms. They are photosynthesizing algae and have siliceous skeleton called frustule, and we can find diatoms in almost every aquatic environment, including fresh and marine water, soils, in fact almost anywhere moist. Diatoms are the most common type of phytoplankton, which belong to the kingdom of Protista and are classified under Basilaria. They can be either benthic or planktonic. So benthic means organisms that live on the seafloor, and planktonic, they tend to float in the open sea rather than living on the seafloor. Diatoms are also responsible for the carbon fixation in the environment, and their size come in the range of 2 micrometer to 500 micrometer, which is 0.5 millimeter. Diatoms are broadly classified into two categories based on their structures, which are centrals and panels. Alright, so in these slides, we can see the categories based on their structures. So for central diatoms, they are radially symmetrical, found drifting near the surface of the oceans and are wheel-shaped, whereas panels diatoms are laterally symmetrical and live in the freshwater streams, swamps, or bottom of shallow water. That's all from me. I will pass the slide to the next member. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Nur Aina will present the important features of diatom. The main feature of diatom that played an important role for any crime scene is the diatom cells wall are made up from hydrated silicon dioxide called a frustule. Due to large quantity of silica, the cell wall become hard and not easily destroyed under extreme conditions such as strong acid digestion. The cell wall does not get destroyed after their death, so at the bottom of the sea, very huge rocks of dead diatoms are formed, which are known as diatomite or diatomaceous earth or kieselguhr. And because of this, they are not easily transferred or eliminated at a crime scene. They discovered that diatoms would stick to the shoes and could be seen even if they were just in touch with water for a brief time. The study also demonstrates that diatoms are highly likely to aid in the detection of footwear traces if the variations in each experimental operation can be removed. The next point is various diatoms can breed advantageously based on their own ability to adapt, leading to notable variations in the distribution of diatom species in various waterways. Diatoms are extremely sensitive to changes in environmental conditions, such as temperature and nutrients, and thus diatom species abundance varies from water to water. Based on this theory, forensics can compare the abundance of diatom species in human tissues and in the water to determine the approximate drowning location in drowning cases. Lastly, diatoms are unique because they produce oil whereas other types of algae make starch. Diatoms are distributed throughout marine and freshwater habitats. Marine diatoms are generally found during the spring and autumn because they are mainly cold water organisms and can tolerate low light. Diatoms accumulate triacylglycerols in spherical organelles called oil bodies when exposed to nutrient deprivation conditions. That's why we can manage to get biofuel from diatoms. That's all from me. I'll give to the next presenter.
So next, what is the impact of application diatom in forensic science for human? Firstly, the scientists or the forensics will be easy to determine the cause of the death. Secondly, they will be able to determine the times of the death. Thirdly, they will be ready to recognize the place of the death. The first impact is it is easy to determine the cause of the death. The cause of the death can be determined by two methods, which is antemortem and postmortem. Antemortem performed before the death and postmortem performed after the death. So during antemortem, in case of drowning victims, where the diatoms are present in the medium aspirated along with inhaled water, it reaches the lung, then pass into the circulation through ruptured pulmonary capillaries and alveolar walls, and then leads to the penetration of diatoms into the organs or other parts of body such as the bone marrow, lungs, the brain, kidneys, and the hearts. While during postmortem, if the body has been thrown in the water after the death, then the diatom will be obtained from nose, from mouth, or the middle part of the ear. The second one, during antemortem, in drowning find, leathery froth at mouth, nose, and ear are obtained from the passage. But during postmortem, the diatoms could not enter the systemic circulation via lungs. The third one, during antemortem, the occurrence of diatom in the bone marrow is a proof that the individual was alive when entered the water. This means that the cause of the death was due to the drowning. It also could be suicidal, accidental, or homicidal. But during postmortem, the non-occurrence of diatoms in the bone marrow and other tissue is a proof that the individual was dead when entered the water. It can be estimated of a homicidal death. The second impact is they will be able to estimate the time since death. So it can be used the diatom testing. The scientists observe the amount of diatom present in the organism and may be able to estimate a generalized time of the death. Based on the result of diatom testing, if there are fewer than 20 different species of colonizing diatoms, then the organism death could have been within the previous 7 to 12 days. But if there are more than 50 different colonies of diatoms, then it is determined that death possibly occurred several weeks ago. The last impact is we are able to recognize the place of the death. In diatom examination, the control water sample are used for comparison purpose. Matching of diatoms from the putative water medium and tissue of drowned body is required also for comparison purpose. Based on the result of laboratory tests, if the presence of diatom in the body that are of the same species found in the water where the body was, it can provide lead to the investigation by estimating the site of drowning. We also can know whether the body has been replaced from the actual crime or crime scenes or not. So based on the picture below, you can see this is the body that drowning in the water, either in the lake, sea, or the river.
There are more examples on diatom's applications. Since diatoms are highly attractive for industrial applications due to their richness in natural lipids and carotenoids, especially in the field of biofuel and nutraceutical productions. In biofuel, diatoms produce oil drops that are stored intracellularly as a reserve material during the vegetative period of growth. Diatoms have the characteristics both conceptual and proven, which make them amenable to large scale of biofuel cultivations. In figure below, we can see the observations in fluorescence and light micrograph of lipid droplets in diatoms. For nutraceutical productions, there are any substance that might be considered as a food that has medical health advantage, including prevention and treatment of disease. Diatoms represent a good source of primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Example for primary metabolites, which are protein, peptides, fatty acids, sterols, and polysaccharides. For the example for secondary metabolites, they are mainly cateroids and polyphenols. Thank you.